Hello, how are we all? Lovely to be back with you in Benjy's Cafe podcast after a week away. And joining me in this episode is the award-winning broadcaster, host and DJ, Harpz Kaur. Harpz can currently be heard at weekends on Virgin Radio. Joining in 2024, she became their first Asian presenter. She presented Saturday Mashup Live for the BBC and hosted BBC Asian Network's Weekday breakfast show for over 5 years. And in 2019, Harpz was named Radio Presenter of the Year at the Asian Media Awards. She's also an ambassador for the mental health charity Calmzone, campaigning against living miserably. We discuss so many important things this week. Harpz shares her love of music and its therapeutic power, her route to becoming an award-winning broadcaster, and the importance of seeking help and talking about mental health if you're struggling. Plus, her work with Calmzone and finding joy in the little things.
We have to kind of go, all right, I didn't have a great day, it's been a bit off, but what made me smile today? There must have been something in the day that felt good. Those are the little things that I've learned by, working with Calm or working with other people that have gone through similar things to me. When I've spoken to them, you pick things up. You actually do, and that's why it's great to speak to people, to talk, and I've learned the hard way. Now I'm learning of how to find that person that I feel comfortable speaking to.
Harpz's passion is contagious. You'll love her. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast, Harpz Kaur. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, Ben. That was lovely. Thank you so much for such a nice intro. And it's been a while.
We
haven't met in so long.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Well, we worked together on the 100, the cricket's new bright tournament, which is wonderful, at Emirates Old Trafford in Manchester. What a buzzy city, what fantastic crowds. You were the matchday host, but I just want to say thank you. You came into work every day, and they are long days, my goodness.
Yeah.
But your smile and sparkle just really set me up for the day, so I just want to say thank you for that. Do you realise how happy that you make people feel?
Firstly, thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. But I think having done a breakfast show for around 7 years, waking up the nation, my job was to make people feel good, to start their day. No matter what mood they were going in, my mind was always conscious about making the listener smile. And I still don't think I actually realised if I was doing it or to the extent I was actually making people happy until I left the breakfast show and I got messages, I bumped into people. I still meet people on a daily basis where they will express how much they miss the show. And it usually comes down to a similar answer. We would start our day in the best way, Harpz. You made us smile, you put us in a great mood, and you always sounded so lively. And I guess that's where the hard bit came towards the end, was I stopped smiling. So I can't do that if I'm not in a great place. But it's so nice to hear that, Ben, and I'm very conscious of everywhere I go to make sure no matter what I'm going through, the room I'm walking into doesn't need to feel that. They need to feel the good energy and smile. So I'm trying, but I don't think the answer to your question is I don't think I realise I'm doing it to that extent.
Well, you should do. You're wonderful. I'm just really interested, actually. You mentioned that the listeners, when you left the breakfast show, you get a lot of lovely feedback saying, oh, we miss you, we miss that happy start to the day. Would you feed off them as well if you went into work and, starting to record, you're on air and you weren't having the best of mornings? Would you feed off the listener too?
It's such a strange relationship that you build with people that you actually have never met, you don't know them, but because you go in and day out to do the same thing, to speak to not just the same people, you're attracting new people every day, but it's a really strange connection that you build with your listeners. And when I first started radio, I remember the tips and advice they used to give me is speak to one friend, speak as though you're speaking to one person, not the whole world, and you'll realize how much of a bond you make with them. And in my head, that never used to make sense. I was like, how can I speak to just one friend but it connect to everyone? But it's strange because as you get on with the job and you start to understand the way it works, it's weird because that not only do they feed off my energy, I feed off theirs too. So if they're sending me a load of messages which is positive and they're loving what I might be playing or the games that they're getting involved with, it made me feel extra happy because then I'm thinking, right, I'm doing my job right because you're smiling. Now it makes me want to do it more. So absolutely. I mean, on the off chance if you ever got a moody listener and they weren't happy with something, then it might knock my mood a little bit, but I still never let it get to me. It was something I had to learn, Ben. It was another skill that where there's negative energy, you've got to let it in one ear and out the other. You just have to do that.
Yeah, because it's really difficult sometimes, isn't it? Especially if you feel a little bit tired when, you can hear something negative and it can just play on your mind, can't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where I let it take the best of me. Towards the end of my breakfast shift at the BBC, it was more just about it took its toll on my body. Waking up at 4 a.m. every day wasn't the easiest, especially when you're someone who's got insomnia. I'm not a very good sleeper. So putting me on the breakfast shift was a little bit risky, but the best thing ever as well. I don't regret it. It's the best thing I ever did. But it's so, so key to make sure that when you're doing something like this, you can get so easily wrapped up into the rat race of what that lifestyle is without realizing that maybe you just need to slow down a little bit too, because it's affecting your health. And it not only affected my health physically, it did mentally, emotionally, and obviously through COVID as well. It didn't really help. I was working through COVID and got very ill through that as well. But there were so many other key factors that made me make that decision that I've just realized it doesn't matter how much you love your job, but if something starts to make you hate it, which shouldn't ever happen, by the way, which is why I always use my example as an example, my experience, should I say. When you love something so much, but then things start to make you really hate that, that's a problem. And that happened to me towards the end. And I thought, why am I crying on my way into work?
Oh,
Like I shouldn't be doing that because I love my job. I absolutely live and breathe what I do. And sometimes it's important to slow it down and look at the bigger picture. And as cliche as it's gonna sound, I did actually have to just write everything down that was
yeah.
bugging me on a piece of paper just to see it and work out where the problem is. So I think, yeah, when things get in your brain and you're thinking it's bugging me now, really try to like break that down and make that change that you need to make. Because I think in hindsight, the only change I would have made is maybe leave a bit sooner because I just let it drag for so long. And knowing that I needed to leave but didn't want to leave,
Yeah.
but then not wanting to leave because I was scared of what happens after. Where do I go? Like, there's all sorts of things that go on in your mind, but also make sure your environment is like you're in a comfy spot as well. And I think everything around me just changed after a bit. So I had to make a big decision, but I think now I'm in a great position where I can look back and go, I did a great chapter. I'm so happy with the way things went. We've just got to keep moving on to the next chapter, and it's time for me to move on now. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that positivity, Harps. Also, I really commend you for recognizing that you're beginning to feel different, that
Mm,
you did need to take stock of how you felt mentally and physically. You touched on, the physical demands. I imagine those early mornings are tricky, but
yeah.
just realizing that, you know what, this isn't good for me at the moment
Mm,
anymore. I really commend you for that. And often it's very hard, isn't it, to take a
very.
breather, to take stock
Yeah.
and make a decision that ultimately is so important.
Yeah, and it's almost life-changing decision as well, Ben. I think when you get to a point like, me being on that breakfast show, I started on the weekends for 2 years and did 5 years on weekdays. So for my little stint that I had there, I knew nothing but breakfast. So I'd always woken up at 4 a.m. I'd always I'd always be in that mindset of, right, I've got 5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep,
Oh,
because it wasn't just radio I did as well. So I think that's why I burnt out quickly. There was so many other things I had my hands in. I worked on CBBC. I did a kids TV show, and that was the best job ever. But when I looked at it logistically, doing all of that was really hard because I do the radio 4 a.m. every day, Monday to Thursday. Then I'd fly to Glasgow to do the TV show. And that was 2, 3 days, intense rehearsals, waking up at 3 for your hair and makeup, flying back. And everyone used to say to me, right, so Sunday's your day off. So that's great. And I'm like, no, it's not, because on the Sunday, I'm catching up with life. I'm doing my housework, my washing, my little things that you'd think you get to do every day. I never got to do that. There was no time for any of this.
No, and you just take, you say yes, yes, yes,
You
and then
do.
ultimately you're thinking, oh my god, I've got to get my wash on, I've got to dust the shelves, and that becomes like an extra level
It
of
really
anxiety
does.
almost, doesn't it, when you freelance?
Absolutely. And I think because of those things, and then hosting other events on an evening, attending events on an evening, there was no like breathing space for me. So I think a lot of that is obviously a reason for why I stepped back. But also, just going back to the whole not feeling great, I just want to stress how important that is. And no matter what you do, if you ever get to that point, please, please, please try not to let it drag and really, really step back and look at what changes you can make, because in the long run, otherwise you're paying for a lot of things. Like now with my health and all of that, I'm paying for it all now because I neglected it. I neglected my sleep. I neglected eating on time. I'd eat when I was hungry because I'm on the go. I mean,
Yeah.
Ben, you know what it's like in this industry.
Oh,
Sometimes we work hours and hours and you've not eaten all day. But we
true.
and we complain about it for a bit, but we don't realize that if you keep doing that again and again, in the long run, you might be paying a bigger price for things like that. And is it really worth it? So for me to not be in a great mood and want to wake up the nation, that was a problem. So I'm just trying to stress that that was evident to me that I cannot go into a studio if I'm not feeling great. I won't know how to make the other person feel great. But I tried my best to still give it 100. Even though I didn't feel 100, I gave everybody else 100. And I'll carry on doing that. But just a little more self care, people. Just a little bit more self care is needed, I think.
And during that period, Harps, were the people you could talk to? You're an ambassador now for Calm, the campaign against living miserably, which do some wonderful work. Were the people then you could talk to and say, look, I'm
Mm.
not feeling quite right here? Because, like you said earlier, getting it out there, it's almost like that initial lift, isn't it? Where you think, okay, I can see a way through this. It's very difficult.
It's very hard. Things get very blurry, things get very
Mm,
misty when you're in that zone. I'm happy to admit I've also been that person that did struggle to speak to people or speak to someone. And sometimes it's just not knowing who the right person is.
yeah,
You don't want to always tell your partner or your other half at home because you feel you're nagging after a bit. You don't want to sometimes tell your friends because you think I don't need to bother them. I don't need to give them this stress. There's always that moment where you think, I do want to talk, but who do I speak to? And I think ever since I joined Calm, it actually helped me realize the changes that I needed to make as well. I was learning as I was going along. So I can't just preach to people and go, this is what you do, because I never did it myself. But
yeah,
I think I've learned now that actually, if you don't know who that right person is, or you're not comfortable speaking to certain people, I know a lot of people that aren't comfortable sharing things with their parents or their families or for whatever reason, there's always someone out there that is happy to listen. And sometimes you just need to make that extra step on searching for it. And whether that's, going down a charity like Calm that, I work really hard for now and I'm pushing that is because not only have I experienced it myself of not knowing how to open up, but those people really help to bring that out of you too. So give it a chance is what I would say. Because there's a lot of people that get scared with these things. I suffer from
yeah.
major anxiety. I have done for years. And it might not come across like that because of the work I do, but people would have no idea behind the scenes of how anxious I actually do get in certain situations. But I've worked on that. And that's by going to people like Calm and, talking it through step by step and understanding that you're not wrong just because you feel that way. It's not a bad day just because you feel that way. It's just an off day. I see it as every day can have some sort of good in it. You just have to find what that one thing in the day was. Because we're very quick to just kind of go, right, I've had a really crap day. Everything's gone wrong. I'm so upset. I'm so annoyed. This really annoyed me in the morning. Now it's gonna bug me for the rest of the day. We all have to kind of learn to stop that because I think as my life's gone on, I've realized one, life is too short. We cannot be complaining all day saying stuff like that. We have to kind of go, all right, I didn't have a great day, it's been a bit off, but what made me smile today? There must have been something in the day that felt good. Those are the little things that I've learned by, working with Calm or working with other people that have gone through similar things to me. When I've spoken to them, you pick things up. You actually do, and that's why it's great to speak to people. Someone else might have a technique that you've not tried. You might want to try it. Someone else might have tried something you've never even thought about. Try it. You won't know these things unless you speak to people. So I think it's really, really important to talk. And I've learned the hard way because I think with the hardship that I'd gone through towards the end of leaving a breakfast show, I didn't speak to many people, and I don't think I knew who to turn to because the people I was speaking to at the time, I felt maybe weren't the right people or weren't helping me in the right direction that I
Yeah.
wanted to go down. So sometimes you've got to, it takes time to work that out. But yeah, at the time I didn't have it, but now I'm learning of how to find that person that I feel comfortable speaking to. But it's important. We all have to do it.
And it's just that initial step, isn't it? That initial
Yes.
hurdle. And as soon as you even if you just Google someone to help, it's like, okay, I'm doing something about this. This is a way forward. But you're so right, Harps, especially in, the entertainment industry that we're in. I suffer from anxiety, and it's dissipated massively since I became alcohol free, my goodness. But I remember the first year on the mic at the 100, just the nerves. I was like, oh my God, what is this? Despite, my performing experience. And it's crazy, isn't it? Because that's the pressure as well when imagine you're behind a mic and on stage or filming, Harps, that people expect you to be woohoo. But actually it can be very hard, can't it, to be dealing
Oh,
with anxiety. But if you know privately that you are, then my goodness, it just makes life that little bit easier, doesn't it? Especially
oh yeah.
professionally.
100%. And I'm glad you touched up on it like that, actually, because you've hit the nail on the head. That's a perfect way to describe it. My day to day, going on radio and then going on screen for the kids, they're two very different
Oh.
worlds, very different jobs, and doing it in a very different way. Like on the radio, I can get away with it. You don't need to see my face. I was sat there with no makeup on, my slippers on every morning.
I've got my furry slippers on now, Harps. I'm a size 12
Um,
pink fluffy
yeah, that's
whatever's.
literally that's literally how I did my breakfast show. I was sat there in my tracksuit, in my nightgown. I had everything, my blanket.
Brilliant.
Um, and I miss those days because everyone used to laugh at me as well, going, she really has made herself at home in the morning. And I'm like, well, if I need to wake up at 4, I'm doing it comfortably. I need my comfort. So yeah, on radio, you wouldn't think about those things.
Yeah.
But where you would struggle on the radio was if you're not feeling great, then that is also very easy for your tone to change in your voice when you're speaking. And I picked up
Mm.
on that very quickly, thankfully. I never let it show on the radio through my voice. Because even though I was lucky you couldn't see the face, you couldn't see the expression, if I was crying, if I was upset. There were many days in the studio I was like that. But it was learning to control that the minute the fader goes up, it was game time. It was like, right, the minute that fader was up, I took everything seriously. It was like, right, we're in work mode. But every time I'd fade it down to play a song, there were times where I would just walk out the studio, have a little cry somewhere, maybe just turn down the volume and put my head on the desk and just not speak to anyone. It got really weird towards the end. And I'm still quite shook that it switched like that so quickly. Sorry, quickly going back onto TV, like you said, on camera, everybody's watching you now.
Yeah.
And that show was a 3-hour live show. So it wasn't even pre recorded for me to like get away with it that way. I was on your screen for 3 hours live. But again, there could have been days I've not slept or I've just cried before I've walked in. It happened a lot. And it's really, really difficult to separate the two. It's so hard to go on screen and go, right, I've got to wake up so many kids this morning. I've really got to feel good, make them get, involved in these games. And my energy might have been very low. But learning to not bring the two together and keep it separate, that's a job in itself as well. It really is. And I don't think everybody can do it either, which is what the struggle part of this is. It's really difficult to put your emotion aside whilst you're trying to act or trying to present on screen. And Ben, you do the same thing. I mean, you do a lot of stage work and camera
Yeah.
work as well, so I'm sure you understand what I mean by if you've had a really bad day, but you know you've got to go on stage now and that's it. It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard to kind of just keep them separate for a minute.
Yeah, it's very hard. And weirdly, I don't know if that's why through my life I've continued with my stage work because it's kind of like it is that release almost. It's maybe
Release.
not a healthy release, but it's just I can have like an anxious morning, or I'm had a
Yeah.
bad sleep, or I'm tired, or life can be heavy, can't it?
Yeah.
But maybe, yeah, thinking about it, really good point, Harps. That just getting on stage, it's just like I can forget about that for
Yeah.
2.5 hours,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure is a healthy thing, but I guess in
Mm,
the moment it does help. So
yeah.
it's kind of like a tricky one to gauge, I think.
It really is. It's so hard to split the two
Yeah,
is what I found I struggled with at first was just feeling crap and then knowing not to bring crap energy out on set.
yeah,
So but then like you said, sometimes you have to kind of flip it. Maybe I'm escaping that for 2, 3 hours whilst I'm doing this.
yeah,
But it's difficult. You have to find your momentum
yeah.
whilst you're moving and what works for you. What I will say is if you do feel like that and you need to talk to someone, please just go find that person to speak. It's so important. It's very important.
And I think increasingly in modern day life as well, I think just be honest, have that honesty with colleagues, because I guarantee there'll be other people on that set, in that workplace, feeling, equally as anxious or worried about something, have a concern that they maybe haven't shared. I
Hmm.
find that now, again, from being alcohol free, just being honest with how I'm feeling, I'm getting so much help and so much back from people.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And that's great. That's great to see in here because those are the things that make other people realize it's actually okay to do that as well.
Yeah,
Because I think so many people are scared of making that step, and there's a lot of people that they feel shame, they feel embarrassed when they're seeking for help. I've never really understood that because there's nothing to feel ashamed or embarrassed about. If anything, I actually tell people we should all be going for therapy regardless. You don't need to go for therapy because you're not feeling great or you're going through something and you don't know how to work it out. I actually think it's great for everyone, just anyway. Like, there's a lot of things maybe we bottle inside and we don't speak to anyone about, but try speaking to a stranger in a room who's got no judgment. There's no judgment in that room whatsoever. Say whatever you want and feel the difference of walking out of the door when when you've realized, actually, I might not have found my solution just yet, but I've got it off my chest, and
yeah,
it feels a lot lighter, and you'll feel different. So I think everybody should go for help when they need it anyway, even if you're
yeah.
not in a really bad place. I think it's still good to do.
It's so important, isn't it? And you do just feel immediately lighter. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you
Um,
really do.
what I love, you took stock of how you were feeling, that you just needed to slow down. I just wondered what boundaries you put in place now in everyday life, Harps, that kind of help you just breathe, be it
Yeah.
exercise or, just a nice book or some good music. I know you love your music.
I love my music. I live and breathe my music. Music I can't live without. And it's not just because it's something I've loved since I was little. I've realized how much music helps me to escape my real life. And it might sound a little deep, but the mood changes a lot. So my genres will change a lot in the day depending on my mood. If I'm feeling great, I'll be blasting it. Like if I'm feeling a little down, I might be listening to something completely different in the car. But music really helps me. I've really found that music is my remedy. I feel no matter what I listen to, it will uplift me or make me feel something that I just want to feel in that moment in time, and I take that very seriously. So music is just it's a godsend for me.
It's fantastic, isn't it? How just a piece of music can just calm you and give you so many emotions. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like no matter what mood I'm in, there is always something that you can listen to during that mood. So music for me is a savior. But I go to the gym. I actually go to the gym more for release more than it being about
Yeah.
looking good. But looking good is a bonus. If I can shift some weight, then it's great. But
Hobbs, you're tiny. You literally come up to my knees, I think. You're so tiny.
I actually do. Actually, I think just below your elbow. But yeah, I mean, if I get any of that, it's a bonus for me. But the reason I do actually go is to release, and I feel any form of exercise is perfect for when you're feeling really crappy. More so when you're feeling down, when you're feeling bad, when you're feeling rubbish, when you're feeling lethargic. All those kind of things, gym, working out, even if it's going for a run, getting some fresh air, it does the world of like good. I cannot tell you how much it changes my mood. I could go into the gym feeling so moody with my PT, and I'll be like, I really can't be bothered today. I don't want to move. I'll be complaining for a bit, and then I'll work really hard, and then I'll leave a completely different person. And that's what I go for, that feeling at the end, because I just need someone to really kick me up the backside to get me out feeling good. So gym is great, and I think it's a good form of release anyway, releasing those endorphins,
Yeah.
all that bad energy that you've got. It really does shift it. So yeah, gym, music, even things like having a nice bath. I always feel on an evening, especially after a long day, if I feel like nothing is touching me to be able to wind down, I'm straight in the bath. Throw in a couple of bath salts, play some nice music, or watch something even. I'll always light my candles. I'm a candle freak. It sets the mood, it sets the vibe for me. So it just brings everything, it just calms me down. I feel like the
Yeah.
minute I'm in that kind of environment, I'm good.
It's just peaceful, isn't it? And it does just, you can just relax and breathe.
Yeah.
The trouble with me is, Harps, there's not many baths I fit in, so invariably it doesn't become that relaxing an experience.
Yeah, sorry, I've just gone on about how great it is.
No, I do try. I love listening to a good podcast, even if my legs are dangling over the tap end. And your love of music, Harp. Did you grow up with music as a child? Like, was it in your household? Like, was it kind of around your family when you were growing up in
Yeah.
Huddersfield?
I think it's weird. I think music was always on in my household. But it's strange because I come from quite a big family, and I lived with like 15 people at one point. Like my dad's brother was there, their kids
My
were there. Up
God.
until I was about 14, 15, it was a madhouse. Um and then obviously it calmed down and everybody's moved on with their lives. But my point is, everybody listened to music in my household, but everybody listened to something different. So everyone's genre was different. Everyone's likes and dislikes were different. Me being, I think, when I came along, I listened to everything, but also absorbed everything and enjoyed everything. Whereas other people in my family are very specific about what they want to listen to, whether that's, pop, rock. I've got some pop and rock lovers, but then I've got the Bollywood lovers, but then I've got the R&B and hip hop lovers, and then I've got the dance people in the house. It's weird in my house, but I think I'm the only person that likes everything. Everybody else is very specific. So I think for me, music to my ears was literally music to my ears. Like anything that was going in, I was like, yeah, I love this, love that, love this. And it shows in a lot of my work that I do. For example, on when I was at the BBC, I was on Asia Network. So there was a lot of Asia music we were playing. And I'd embrace it a little bit more. But then I worked right next door to Radio 1 and 1 Extra, and I'd listen to them more than my own show sometimes because I also love a lot of that music. And now I've moved on to Virgin. It's completely different. We're playing 70s and 80s pop, rock, indie music. It's not everyone can adjust that quickly, is what I'm saying. So I'm quite versatile,
Yeah.
very, yeah, I can go from one end of the spectrum to the other when it comes to music. If you sat in my car, you probably will get a shock because you'll go through every wave and every genre. And that there is. My playlist is a mess, but
That sounds like
um,
a good car journey. I'm going to have to hop
yeah.
in with you.
But I think because I love to dance so much as well,
Yeah.
and I've danced since I was like 2 years old. Um, that's where my love for music has grown even more because dancing for me is just another escape. I love it. It's my favorite hobby to do. It makes me feel like I can be a different person for a bit in whatever shape or form that is. Um, and that's made me love more and more music as I've got older. Like because I travel a lot, I pick up a lot of other music now as well everywhere I go. So yeah, I'm a bit of an all-rounder, but music is life.
And is there one song in particular? I mean, you've got a huge love of music, but one song where you are feeling a bit like, it's a tricky one, not feeling it today, that just kind of instantly lifts you.
Yeah, you might laugh at this one. I don't know actually. This song I've just been obsessed with since the day I first heard it, and I've got no idea how old I was. Extremely young, and I'm gonna go with the Michael Jackson song because
Ah,
I do feel
yes.
like MJ puts me in a good mood no matter what. But "You Rock My World" is it's just perfection for me. And I don't know why. I think because I tilt a lot towards R&B anyway. It's got a very R&B feel, but the dancing, the choreo, the video, the music, everything about it start to finish is If anyone's playing that and I was crying, I'm going to stop pretty quick. I will smile very quickly. That's my go-to. But
And what was the moment as a youngster, Harpz, that was there like a piece of music you heard or something you saw on TV or film that kind of just kind of gave that little spark of, oh, I'd quite like to go into this business?
that's a really good question. I feel like that's happened to me a few times.
Yeah.
I'll hear and watch something and go, oh, I'd love to do that, or I'd love to do this. I can't think of a specific song, but I do remember just watching a lot of films on TV at home. And if it had anything dance related in it, that was like, I don't know why I would watch it as though I was going to be casted for the next film, is how serious I took it. I'd watch it and be like, if I was to do this role, what would I do? Even though it's never going to happen. But it was always dance related. So I watched a lot of films growing up, like You Got Served, Honey. There was a lot of dancey films when I was in high school. And it was those things that made me want to do it more, I think. That's probably how I'd say, yeah. Watching those kind of things was like, I want to be like that. I want to dance like that. I want to move like that. So nothing specific, but definitely films that had anything to do with dance, I was there. I don't know. I feel like I secretly want to be a pop star, Ben.
You should be. Come on.
If I
We're going to
could,
get
then
you
I
in the
could.
studio, Harpz.
Yeah. If I could and I could change my career for a minute, I think I'd. Yeah, I want to be a pop star. I
Well, your
want to go that way.
your presenting career, my goodness, you've such success, Harpz. I just wondered, that must have been very hard initially getting into the business, being persistent, pushing for doors to open. You must be very proud of the effort you put in there because initially it must be very difficult.
Oh God, yeah. And culturally as well, Ben, it was very different. I think I come from a family that back then things were very different. Now my brother and sister, because they're younger, get away with murder. So because I was the first child, I'm the experiment, right? So I'm the one that they've got to be tough with. So there was a lot of things that I never got stopped to do. I just got questioned a lot sometimes. So for example, when I wanted to go down the whole media route, finished college, had to pick something to study at uni, and I was always that child that listened to my dad when he said, I think you need to do business studies, not art. Because I wanted to do art. And he's like, no, you need to do business. But I'd be sat there going, Dad, because you're a great businessman doesn't quite mean I am, but we'll try it. And when I tried it, I didn't do that great. So I was like, I'm not like you then. And when I got to pick that uni subject, I sat down with my mum and dad and I went, I know you've never forced me, but you've always kind of wanted to convince me into doing things. If I'm going to go to uni, I'm only going to go if I can do what I really want to do. And obviously, the first question was, well, what is that? And I wasn't quite sure. It wasn't 100% that I wanted to do it, but I knew that there was something in it that I probably was going to be good at. So I went for media studies, and simply because it said radio and TV underneath, I was like, yeah. I've always said, I always did actually, through high school and college, there was this running joke with my friends. And I'd always say, one day my name's going to be in lights. One day I'm going to be on a stage and you'll be watching. One day you'll switch TV on and it's going to be my face. And they'd just laugh at me like you do when you're younger.
Yeah.
But at uni, I took it really serious. I was like, no, I'm actually going to do something about this. So I'd picked it. But talking about the struggles, it was hard to convince my family why I wanted to do this. And the reason for that is because there's not a lot of South Asian females doing what I'm doing, and especially not then. I mean, there's so much more now, and it's growing. But back then, when I was still trying to find my way, there was actually not a lot of people. So growing up, I never really got to see too many people that looked like me or sounded like me. It made me want to do it more.
Yeah.
So when I'd see the odd person, I was like, no, why are more of us not doing this? So I think it was more of a concern point from my dad's perspective. It was just, are you sure you're going to get a job at the end of this? And my answer was, I can't answer that because I genuinely don't know, but I'm going to give it a shot. So I went and did it. They weren't angry. I think they were just, I hope she's not made the wrong choice here and
Yeah.
wasting her time. It was more about the wasting my time. But anyway, I got to the end of it. I did a lot of work experience in community radio stations. I worked at one in Leeds called Fever. I was there for 7.5 years, voluntary, didn't get paid. That was where my mum and dad were like, when are you going to stop going to this radio station? Because you got no money. And I was like, yeah, but I like it and I'm still learning. And it was that station that made me realize I'm born to do this. I am. I just don't know how to get onto a bigger platform, but this is what I'm born to do. But it was frustrating because obviously 7 years after graduation, working at a voluntary station and not making money, again, a huge concern. And I remember sitting in my bedroom at the age of like 23, 24, and I'm there going, right, I'm comparing myself to my friends. They're all making great money. I've got nothing. I was making nothing. And chose to do my master's. So I did my postgrad in broadcast journalism. Came out of that, and my dad again was like, "So what's the job then?" I'm like, "Still trying to find one."
But I completely admire that steel, that spirit inside your Harps, because it is very different when you
It's
realise
so
growing up, you know, going through college, university, whatever route you choose to take into entertainment, that we are wired a bit differently, but and you've
mm.
really got to stick to your guns, and it is hard, isn't it, when your peers and family around you, they're
Oh
taking
yeah,
like the normal route through life, and it's like,
yeah,
no, I've got this burning passion. I think it's amazing that you stay true to that passion, Harps, and then to go on to win Radio Presenter of the Year at the Asian Media Awards. Like, my God, I just think it's wonderful, and it's holding on to that spirit and that dream, isn't it? That's so
mm.
important, and also undoubtedly you've inspired so many young people who were in your position. That
Yeah.
must feel
Thank
great.
you. Yeah, and do you know what? It is the best feeling, Ben, because now I feel like I wasn't that much of a disappointment. I managed to get through it. And my mum and dad are now my biggest fans. Like when I got onto the BBC and got the breakfast show, they never missed a single show. And that is what changed it for me. Because when I was on Fever, just messing around doing these little shows, they never listened at all. It was just like, you're not getting paid. Don't know what you. I don't know who's listening to this. But when you make it, it's kind of like sometimes they just need to see it happen for
Yeah.
them to believe it. And for the background that I come from, it was quite tricky, just because not a lot of people did it. So doing it was kind of having to be brave, having to have the confidence of being able to tell people, no, this is what I want to do without getting stopped. So it was tricky. As I was trying to get into it, it was difficult. But the minute I got that call from the BBC to be like, right, we want to give you a Sunday morning breakfast show, that's how I started. I was in Morocco on a family trip, and I thought, this call couldn't have been planned more perfect, because I'm with them right now
Yeah.
and I've got the evidence of the call. I've got the job. And I didn't even
Oh,
apply for it. I actually got headhunted, which
wow.
is what blows my mind even more. But it was amazing, and things worked out the way they were supposed to, and my 7 year free work stint definitely paid off.
Yeah, completely,
Definitely
and
paid
it's
off.
because you're a great person, Harps, and super
Thank
talented that
you.
that would have been spotted from afar, and never lose sight of that as well. That I really
Thank
think
you.
that if you're a good soul within any work environment, within life, that
Yeah.
does get picked up, doesn't it? And that's important to remember for young people as well, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And especially when a lot of young people approach me to ask me questions on my story or advice or any tips on how did you get there, Harps? We want to do this too. And I always give the honest answer. Like, I'm not saying not a lot of people do that, but it's very easy as a creative when you're talking about your journey to talk about just the glam side.
Yeah,
It's very easy for us to do that because, we're very lucky to be in the positions we're in, speaking to the kind of people we do. For me, one day I can be with someone like The Rock, and the next day I'm with Gary Lineker. Like, it's really weird. Like, but I'm very lucky that I'm in a position like that. But I don't want to tell the youngsters that this is what this job is. You get it, and then you go there and you see this person, and it's great. It's not all like that. I like to give the honest route of it can take longer sometimes. Sometimes your route can be the harder way compared to another person. And sometimes things aren't great around you. You've got to learn to adapt to your
yeah,
environment. There's loads of things that can be in your way, but be honest about it. And I like to tell the youngsters that anything is possible. Anything. No dream actually is too big if you really, really want it. And I think for me, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I was once that little girl who watched these people, listened to these people that I wanted to be like, but had no idea how to get there. I was just sat there in Huddersfield, boring little girl, just going, how do I do it? When I haven't really got all the support to be like, we're going to help you do this. I didn't
Yeah.
have that. You know, I did a lot of it on my own. Whether that was trying to pick up a YouTube channel back then. There was no Instagram. I remember there wasn't even, I think it was just Twitter and YouTube. So I
Yeah.
made a little YouTube channel, just trying to do my own little thing. But it paid off, just getting recognized by certain people. You don't know who's listening, basically. You don't know who's listening or who's watching you. So whatever you're going to do it to perfection, do it to your best level, because it can get picked up like this, like it did with me, and it changed my life. My entire life changed after that. So, yeah, keep at it.
You should be so proud of what you have achieved, Harpz, and just thank you. You work so hard in normalizing that it's okay to talk about mental health. We've had a lovely chat about it today, and you know, it would have helped me today too. And so I hope you're aware that you're really helping people.
Thanks, Ben. I hope so. I really do hope I am. I think maybe sometimes I don't realize it, but my aim in life now, as I've kind of gone on and on with the journeys that I'm taking, I've realized it's just so important to make people feel comfortable, make them feel happy, but also make them feel heard. And I think being heard is the thing that we all struggle with. So make sure, if you're that person that somebody wants to lean on for a minute, you know, you might be that person in the day someone wants to borrow your shoulder to cry on. Even if you've got nothing to say back, be present with that person. I'm learning these things. Sometimes that's all that other person needs. And if that's all it's going to take to just sit there for 2 minutes and listen, why not do it? So I'm trying to find those different ways, and I want to keep passing that on. So guys, it's never, never, never a bad day. There's always something there. Just embrace those little moments. They're the important moments.
Oh, so it's been a wonderful start to my day chatting to you. I just wonder
Oh, good.
what's the perfect start to your day? Would it be? I mean, I just love my first morning coffee or watering the plants. We've got a few plants that are kind of
Yeah.
half dead at the moment, but do you have a perfect start to your day?
I think the perfect start to my day is a green tea. I've changed a lot as time's gone on, because I used to be a coffee addict when I did breakfast.
That's
Got to stop
me.
that.
Yeah, I drink too much coffee. My
Only
goodness.
because I became a bit too obsessed with it. So I'm taking a break. Switch to green tea. Um, yeah, just little things like that, or like opening up the curtains to sunshine. Just
Yeah.
if there's sun outside, it makes me happy. Or if I need to just plan my day very quickly in 5 minutes of knowing what I'm doing whilst I'm making my tea. I'm trying to change things on a morning now as well, rather than getting up and complaining, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. That was me for a long time. I've stopped that. Now it's like, no, we're going to set the day. Whilst we're making our tea and a breakfast, we're going to sit down, we're going to write down everything that needs to be done. That's it. Get on with it.
Well, you put a huge smile on my face this morning, Harpz. Thank you so much for joining me in Benjy's Cafe podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. And the sun is now shining.
Hey, look at that. Beautiful.
Thanks, Ben. It's been amazing.
Thanks for listening to the wonderful Harpz Kaur. I'll pop the details for Calmzone in the show notes. Don't struggle alone. Don't forget, a fresh new episode of Benjy's Cafe podcast drops every Tuesday. Just find us wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone, and tell your friends, tell your family, and if you can, please do leave a review. Joining me next week in Benjy's Cafe is the songwriter, independent artist and vocal specialist, Roisin Quinn. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.